Hello and welcome to Literary Gladiators. My name is Larry, and this is the fourth Monday in March. And as such, as I've been doing every Monday in March, I'm talking about a different Flannery O'Connor story. And this is kind of the grand finale. I'm talking about Everything That Rises Must Converge. After reading this story again, I am convinced that this is probably my favorite, at least that we've done this month, or that I've covered this month for you guys. And kind of fitting that this is the last one because it's got elements of the other three stories that I talked about in it. So from the geranium, we get the elements that Julian's mother has in this story are comparable to the racial bigotry of the father in the geranium. In the barber, we have a similarity between the main character and the barber and Julian in this story as far as their kind of liberal self-righteousness. Then from the story that we went over last week, Revelation, we have the mother is also very much into identity and getting identity from her perceived class. Identity is really the central theme of this story. We have, in the beginning of this story, Julian's mother looking at a mirror as she's trying on her new hat. Julian's standing behind her, and she's telling him that in this world you have to know who you are. And Julian disagrees with this to a degree where he thinks that her sense of identity is worthless. It's only good for one generation. He thinks to himself that a person's identity is only good for one generation. She thinks that, no matter what circumstances might change, because their family is not the same as it was. She talks about how her grandfather was the governor and how her father was a great landowner. And, and now they're on hard times where she's a widow. She's raised up Julian, on meager means and living in kind of a bad neighborhood, a slummy kind of neighborhood. And but she's still sees herself as a lady, so she still wears her white gloves when she goes out, and all of this kind of posh living, even though she is no longer wealthy, and she's not, her people aren't wealthy anymore. So because of the fact they are on hard times, she has bought this hat. She's paid $9 for it, and she doesn't know whether or not she should keep it because they could use the money for other, more important things. And her son Julian is telling her, no, you should keep it, even though he hates the hat, because he doesn't like thinking about the hard times that they're on. Because she was able to send him to college on these meager means. He's graduated college. He's been home for a year or two and has not really been able to earn any kind of living. So, he's very sensitive about the fact that he has relied on his mother his whole life, and as a result of that, he's very kind of like he's jaded and antagonistic toward her. Now she is a flawed person herself. She's kind of she's a racist. Let's just say that, and as such, Julian feels quite justified in his superiority that he feels toward her. And this comes across in many ways, not just in the fact that, he sees her as a racist, but also in that he doesn't think that she would have been able to appreciate the plantation that she grew up on, the way that he would be able to if he had been alive back when the family was well off. So there's all this kind of tension between the two, and he is being asked to escort her to her reducing class. I guess it's an exercise class at the YMCA. So he and she are getting ready to go on the bus, and pretty much everything that she says just grates on him. Like he can't stand to hear her talk about political issues. He went to college, so he's educated. So in this story too, there's that real, that generational divide and it must have been really hard for people in the South as one generation kind of still clung on to the Jim Crow era, while the next generation is very much against it. The mother gets her identity from where she comes from, but Julian wants to get his identity from what he thinks, or like an ideological kind of identity, I guess, because of the fact that he does not, want to be a racist. He doesn't want to be seen as a racist and all this. So it makes for some uncomfortable situations for Julian, because every time his mother is opening her mouth, it seems like, especially getting on the newly integrated bus, it seems like everything that she says is going to upset his liberal sensibilities. So they're on the bus, and the first thing that happens is that a black man gets on the bus. Well, first it's all white people on the bus, and Julian's mother says, oh, it looks like we have the bus to ourselves, to the other people on the bus. And then they start talking about how, the integration is going, and how nobody on the bus really seems to like it very much. And Julian's just kind of cringing at everything that's being said, and thinking to himself about how there's nobody worth knowing within 300 miles of where he lives, and this kind of thing. And then Flannery talks about how Julian has this place in his mind where he's able to go, because they start talking about him and how, his mother's proud that he went to college, so she mentions that, because she raised him well, she believes, but, he hasn't been able to really earn a living yet, but he's selling typewriters now. And a woman trying to be nice says, well, to be a writer, which is his ambition, you can, selling typewriters is a great place to start, because you can go from one place to the other. And Julian is just embarrassed and roiling in all of everything pretty much being said. So he's got this place in his mind that Flannery talks about where from inside he is safe, feels nothing, but from which he can see very clearly everything that's going on around him, or so he seems to think. But as we find out, that place is not as wonderful as he thinks it is, because he's doing this as a favor to his mother. His mother wants him to take her to the Y. It's the only thing she asks him to do for her. Meanwhile, she's done everything in the world for him. But because of the fact that he is so insecure in himself, and he has no real sense of identity, unlike his mother, who, yes, she is a racist, but she also is an authentic person. She's going to say what she thinks. And she's also, done a lot of good, right? Like she's taken good care of her son. And that's the thing that that we all need to remember, is that no matter what sins people have that they carry with them, or that they even do, they commit, underneath that, there's still a human being there. And that's really what the point of this story is. So what happens is a black person gets on the bus. It's a black man first who gets on the bus, and he sits down next to the women on the bus, and that woman instantly gets up and moves her seat to another seat because she doesn't want to sit next to the black man. Then Julian, to make a statement, he gets up and he sits where that woman was sitting, and then he looks across at his mother, judgmentally, and she's looking back at him with a hurt expression on her face, because that's not who he is. It's not how he was raised, is to sit next to a black person. And as they continue to ride, Julian asks the man for a match. The man gives him a match, and then Julian realizes that he has no cigarettes and gives the matches back. And the black guy gives him a kind of a weird look, like, "What are you doing?" And it's at this point where Julian is thinking about how he would love to have a black friend to bring around to show his mother, but he's unable to make any black friends. And a good reason for that might be because of the fact that he is so he's got no sense of himself. He's got no sense of identity, like his mother says in the beginning of the story. And she does have a sense of who she is. And she talks about the fact that, when she grew up on this plantation, there was a black woman there who took care of her. And she talks about what a great person she was, and what a meaningful friend she had in that world. So, Julian, on the other hand, cannot seem to make any kind of black friends. And it's because, in my opinion, it's because he's not motivated to have a friend for the sake of having a friend, but for political reasons, so that he can feel superior to his mother, and these kinds of things. Nobody's, really interested in that. Nobody wants to be your friend, so you can show your black friend off to your mother and try to show her up. It's not what anybody wants, right? So they continue riding on the bus, and then a black woman gets on the bus with a small child. And it turns out this woman is wearing the same hat as his mother. His mother's very proud of this hat that she has, that she paid $9 for. And the woman has the same one. So Julian makes sure that the mother notices. And the mother's quite taken with this black kid who she thinks is very cute. He's about 4 years old, the story says. So, they're kind of playing peekaboo and all this. But Julian notices right away when the woman gets on that her lower lip is sticking out. And so he gets the impression that she's looking for a fight. And, now his whole purpose being on the bus is to protect his mother and to keep her safe as they go to the Y. That's why she asked him to go, because of the integrated buses. He's with her. And here he sees this woman who appears hostile. And what does he do? Instead of trying to calm the situation down, maybe moving his seat because he knows that his mother's upset by the fact that he's sitting next to the black person. Maybe he could go and sit next to her like she wants him to and be obedient to his mother. Instead, he's kind of antagonistic about it. He's kind of showing her with his eyes, look at this, she's wearing your hat. As you were so proud of this hat, look now this woman over here that you think you're so much better than, now she's wearing this hat. He's thinking to himself and all of this. And the fact that the black boy is sitting next to his mother and he's sitting next to this black woman, he thinks of it as the two women have swapped songs. So, as mad as he's trying to make his mother about everything that's going on, what's actually happening is this black woman is getting more and more enraged by the exact same thing that he is hoping is making his mother upset so that she could learn a lesson. So, his mother's pride is hurt, and she decides, in order to kind of recover some of her pride, that she's going to give this little boy a nickel as they're all getting off the bus together. And his son Julian's begging her not to, and because he is so invested in vilifying his mother and being embarrassed by him, when she goes to give the little boy a nickel, the black woman takes the purse and strikes her mother over the head with it, and runs off, down the street. No, she doesn't run off. She just walks off down the street with her kid, and Julian's sitting there, and now he's going to lecture his mother about why this happened to her and everything. And he's lecturing her about it. And then finally, when he looks at her, he realizes that she's had a stroke. And then all of this feeling superior and everything just instantly melts away. And he starts looking at her as his mommy, as a child. Being she's asking for Caroline, who is the black nurse that raised her. She's kind of reverted back to being a child herself, and the story ends with Julian running to try to find somebody to look after his mother, and trying to postpone. What it says is that he's trying to postpone his emergence into a world of guilt and shame because of the fact that here he is. He's supposed to be looking out for his mother and keeping her safe, in a situation that she's not used to. And, really, he failed to do it. He failed to do it because of the fact that he is so hung up on his own shortcomings and trying to feel better than her and trying to get, his identity basically is, I'm everything that she is not. And in doing that, he misses out on a chance to be there for her and to help her. So, it's a sad one. It's not a pleasant story. It's not a happy ending at all. And it's touching on things like, if you think about it, here's Flannery O'Connor. She goes up north. She goes to Iowa to go to school in Iowa, where I'm sure she had to face all kinds of. She probably heard people say a lot of ugly things about people that she loved. and probably felt a lot of ugly things, about the people that you love too. And trying to sort all that out and everything is it's really interesting. I think that's what this story is about. I think this is probably, at least as far as short stories go, and I haven't read them all, and I want to, but I would say this is probably her masterpiece because it deals with all of that. Like I said, all of the other stories that I went over this month, they deal with similar issues, but this one deals with all of them. It's got elements of all of those other stories that I talked about. So I would definitely recommend reading all of these stories. They're all very good, and that's all for now. Thank you for watching. Again, my name is Larry. This is Literary Gladiators channel. If you like this video, please click the thumbs up sign and subscribe to the channel. Literary Gladiators are always uploading videos. I upload videos on Monday. I'm not sure what I'm going to do next week, but I will figure that out, and I'll have something for you on Monday. So do subscribe and check back in. It's been a good time, I hope. And please leave a comment below. Have you read this story? Did you like it? What other Flannery O'Connor stories do you like? Let me know in the comments. We'll have a nice discussion, and take care. Keep reading, as Josh always says.